Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. So, you just won't believe it, but we have music today. Okay, so let's get her started. Lord be with us. Amen. Shake, I forget, is that one of your songs?
No, that's it's by the Brilliance.
Oh yeah.
This next one is too.
Wow. This is amazing. Thank you.
Sorry, I need to hit my auto scroll again.
I should just say that every time.
Yeah. Save paper, but there we go.
Strides we made for all the blessings. We've fallen far away from truth, turning our face away from this burden race. We turn our face away from you. We want to be your hands, your feet. With our words, we'll let our actions speak. For every broken heart, for every widow, for those without shelter from the rain. We lift our eyes to you, for answers when we've been called to ease the pain. We want to be your hands, your feet. With our words, we'll let our actions speak. Here we are. Words can only go so far. Draw us closer to your heart. Bring us back to you. Bring us back to you. These next two songs will be very new, in case you aren't familiar with those last two. Hope you enjoyed them, but these next two you likely won't know. At least not in this context. There's a very talented songwriter from somewhere down in the States named Nathaniel Rateliff, I came across this song mostly because I follow him on Spotify, but he did a song for a movie called, an Apple TV movie called Palmer, featuring Justin Timberlake. But the song is called Redemption, and that's kind of the theme of the movie. And this song has just been one of those songs that have personally just like stood out. I'm a big fan of lamenting, so this is that one. This is called Redemption. In the hours that I have known, and of all my woes, are they cause to lay you low? I demand your return home. Would you set me free? Just set me free. And it takes its hold, and it won't let you go. I'm reminded of the home I was thinking so much of me. Are you worried of being saved? Are you feeling insecurities? Just set me free. Just set me free. Just set me free. Nowhere to hide, and you're only just trying. All the only just lies you hear, while the magic seems far away, while I stumble through every day. Just set me free. 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 Keep running till we learn to find peace. Just set me free. Keep running till we learn to find peace. Just set me free. Keep running till we learn to find peace. Just set me free. Keep running till we learn to find peace. Just set me free. want to learn to find peace. Just set me free. This next song is a song by Rose Cousins. Singer-songwriter from Halifax. Pretty cool. And this is just a beautiful song too. This is called The Return, Love Comes Back.
Definitely a sing-along.
Definitely a sing-along.
Coming to Love Comes
Yeah.
Back.
So we'll leave you with this one. And I remembered to turn on
Turn
auto
on
scroll.
all of them.
My heart was a hammer. I put you back together. It's just a heart like yours. If my hands were a paddle, I'd pull you through this trouble. But they're just hands like yours. Here's what these hands can do. Be here to hold you. And when you lose your way, here's what my heart would say. Love comes back and love comes back and love comes back around. Love comes back and love comes back and love comes back around. When words are a rainstorm, the lightning crash and the thunder roar, with his words like yours. And when that song's through, no words to find you. And when those words will say, you're gonna be okay. And love comes back and love comes back and love comes back around. Oh, love comes back and love comes back and love comes back around. I can see the me that you know, but there's just eyes like mine. Love comes back and love comes back and love comes back around. Oh, love comes back and 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 love
Peace be with you all.
Thank you. Holy smokes.
And the people said, let it be.
Let it be. Let it be. That was just fantastic. Thank you, guys. Man, and I actually freaked a little bit because the first song was from the Brilliance was so clear about what is the words to that? When I look into the eyes. When I look into the face of my enemy, I see my brother. And you know, it's probably not a surprise, but I decided to be relevant today, and and so I decided to speak about enemy love. So this was just love your enemies. That's what I want to talk about. So I flipped when I heard this song, because I didn't, of course, know what these guys were going to do musically, or in any way. And then the next song, doesn't that talk about how weak we become when we turn away, and that we have to love God by loving each other? Do you remember what's the main idea in that song?
You want to be your hands and feet.
Actions speak. Yeah, not so much words, but yeah.
Words only go so far.
Words only go so far. Yeah, beautiful. And then the third song was the part at the end is about freedom. There's a cry for freedom. How does that word go? It's hard without a guitar in your hand, isn't it? Yeah. It's talking about run to find peace. I love that, the two of them together. Because you sang it over and over again at the end.
Just set me free, keep running till we learn to find peace.
Just set me free, keep running till you learn to find peace. And what's the main word in the last song?
Love comes back.
Love comes back. That's it. Love comes back. And did you notice that we were singing? This is like the first. I heard that since we went to stage 1, that it's okay to sing behind your masks. This is the first time I've heard group singing in a long time. So yeah, that was great. Except for the times when I've forgotten and couldn't help myself. Man, that was so beautiful. Love comes back around. So, anybody have anything in particular that you'd like to hold up in prayer all together with everyone else? Maybe we should pray for a blessing for Telly. Especially as you change it from better. So,
Maybe for Mel.
Mel and Ben have just had Telly. How old is she now?
6 weeks tomorrow.
6 weeks, and they're just doing great. Yeah.
Nice.
So let's ask for a blessing. Telly is beautiful, and Mel and Ben have this incredible new adventure, and a longing for sleep, no doubt. But I ask that you bless, that there be such a deep and resonating, beautiful, ongoing blessing of health and protection and care and development and compassion and a sense of a growth towards loving all the things that you love the most, that Mel and Ben love the most, that for loving justice, for loving kindness, for loving help and welcome to strangers. I pray for a love of beauty. Thank you. Are there other things to... So let's just say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I think I got lost in there somewhere. So today I thought I would speak about polarized Canada. That's what I meant by being relevant. I'll take my mask off to do it. I don't think I've ever seen anything like the kinds of attitudes that are being expressed so freely and strongly. Social media, of course, it's got its own problems as a communication device. And to say the least. But I have so many people in my life that I love that feel completely differently about things that are happening. And in particular, thinking about Ottawa and the convoy and the truckers. And so I don't know very much about most things. It just, and I felt, wow, I don't know enough to speak about something like this. I sure have my opinions. But I started thinking, man, we are just such a polarized people. It's been getting stronger, and it's like each new issue is stronger. And it's the vaccine and the anti-vax, and it's this, being for the convoy, freedom, or being against it, order. And so it's just such a really interesting time. And so all I thought maybe we could do today, I just thought of some favorite Bible verses that I would like to just bring to the fore. And if anybody wants to say anything about them, I'd just love that. So I'm just going to project. Well, actually, Walter is going to project. He has problems with projection and transference. Walter's going to project some scriptures on the board, and I thought so he's got the power back there. 1 Corinthians, but I've got the point. I'm here all week. 1 Chronicles 12, verse 32. This is a verse from way back in the Old Testament, and it's actually it's a verse about all of the quality of people that were gathering themselves to King David 1,000 years BC. So, probably the first solid date in the Old Testament is the coronation of David at about 1010 BC. And people for a long time didn't believe David was a real figure, a real historical figure, but the last generation we found 3 or 4 archaeological references to David as a person. So it's so here in verse 32. Apparently, there's a way to move the text in.
I may not always use my powers.
There you go. Look at that. And I this is such a famous line. It's of all of these warriors and great, warriors that are coming and gathering around David to help David. It makes this comment about the men of Issachar. It's one of the tribes, one of the 12 tribes of Israel. It says, of Issachar, those who had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do, 200 chiefs and all their kindred under command. And that phrase just stuck out with me. It was somebody decided, there's a list of great soldiers and great warriors that are gathering to the king. But there's this phrase, somebody thought it was a good idea to add this, the men of Issachar who had an understanding of the times, and they knew what Israel ought to do. And I thought, wouldn't that be great if somebody knew what to do? Wouldn't it be great if we knew how to bring polarized sides back together? Wouldn't it be great, if we knew exactly what was the right path? And it's so easy, depends on who you listen to or what news you listen to. It depends on what you feel about a lot of things. And so that was the first one. The second one is, I want to go to Matthew 5:38. Matthew 5:38 and following.
You're doing great, Walt.
This is not easy.
It's like an eye test.
Better here, better here.
After you find what?
38.
Way down.
So for this one, this is a slightly longer passage, and so here's more opportunity for people to speak. Matthew 5:38. It says, and I'd like to do the part after that, love for enemies. So it says, you've heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, don't resist an evildoer. If anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. If anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go also the 2nd mile. Give to everyone who begs from you. Don't refuse anyone who wants to borrow from you. This is an unusual ethic. This is where Jesus seems to be presenting to his followers a vision of living without claiming your own rights. And then he says this, you've heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven, for he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Don't even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers and sisters, what more are you doing than others? Don't even the Gentiles or the nations do the same? Be perfect, and I like the translation mature. Be mature, therefore, as your heavenly Father is. So I just love to stop here for a minute, and could we just leave the passage, that part in particular? Could we leave that? And could we, is there anything that you'd like, is there anything you see in it? Doesn't necessarily have to relate to, yes? Oh yeah, Jacob.
How do I pray for my enemies who persecute me?
When I look into their face, I see my brother. I see my sister, I see my father. I mean, I think one part of that is to get behind the hurt to remember the unity. What else? This is a fantastic question, Jacob Scott. How do I love my brother who's hurting me? Anybody have any thoughts about this?
Just the one thing that stands out to me about that is I know how to pray for people to agree with me or to, come to their senses. But that's to me not loving my enemy. And that's not, that's me trying to grieve only my brother and my sister who are like me. But like, how do I actually pray for people as they are?
This is a fantastic question. And I think somebody was going to, it was you, Brian, were going to say something?
Forgiveness is huge.
Learning how to forgive is so important. Forgiveness is huge.
It can lift so much when it works. Sometimes it doesn't work, but when it works, it's a life changer.
So you're saying this from a lifetime of helping people in your career and personal experience. Okay, so you're saying forgiveness, when it works, is a life changer. It lifts a huge weight from your shoulders. Yeah, beautiful. So one part is forgiveness. Another part I really think is learning how to remember that we are one. That in a deeper way, we are one too. We do share so many things. We share so many longings. That sometimes helps me. I think ultimately we're longing for the same good things to happen for us and for our loved ones, but we are focusing on different sides of the problem. Yeah, well.
First of all, you were slipping this morning because it's the Luke version. That's the lectionary reading for today.
It's okay. So you're saying that in the early service today, you read the same passage from the lectionary?
In Luke, though.
But in Luke, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. My prayer life has been a little down.
What's a little prayer for YouTube then?
Wait, I couldn't hear that part?
I just said, so we'll pray for YouTube.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Well, Jess, is there any chance
come and do it.
What, do you want to read it?
No, I'd rather you would please, and take your mask off to do it.
I
Thanks.
read it already.
Yeah, please do it again. You've had protection. You've had a chance to learn it.
Okay. Yeah, I went and grabbed it because I thought I could tell where this was going. This is from Desmond Tutu. When we are uncaring, when we lack compassion, when we are unforgiving, we will always pay the price for it. It is not, however, we alone who suffer. Our whole community suffers, and ultimately our whole world suffers. We are made to exist in a delicate network of interdependence. We are sisters and brothers, whether we like it or not. To treat anyone as if they were less than human, less than a brother or a sister, no matter what they have done, is to contravene the very laws of our humanity. And those who shred the web of interconnectedness cannot escape the consequences of their actions. Forgiving and being reconciled to our enemies and our loved ones are not about pretending that things are other than they are. It is not about patting one another on the back and turning a blind eye to the wrong. True reconciliation exposes the awfulness, the abuse, the hurt, the truth. It could even sometimes make things worse. It is a risky undertaking, but in the end it is worthwhile, because in the end only an honest confrontation with reality can bring real healing. Superficial reconciliation can bring only superficial healing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was wonderful. Wow, thank you so much. It never occurred to me that the early service chose to be relevant too. Renata.
In the Luke version, there's a line in this passage that says, treat others the way you would like to be treated, which is, it's also other places as well. And Walter reflected in the early service, if I were in a position where I was doing something wrong or hurting somebody, I would want to be treated as, to be called out, to have that thing pointed out and to be given the opportunity to grow. And so I think that is part of this too. I think praying for your enemies isn't kind of just saying, oh, I forgive you for being different than me, or it's, really, well, I think part of it is a discerning process to think, okay, in what ways can I love this person? And part of that is, acknowledging, harm and miscommunication and challenges.
That's fantastic. So the golden rule even applies to accountability. Wow, that's amazing. I hadn't thought of it that way. I know how I would want to be treated is I would want to be treated with some understanding. I'd want to be treated with some generosity. I'd want someone to be able to say, I see where you're coming from, so empathy. But if I'm doing something that's harmful, I would want somebody to say that as well. Okay. It's great. Yeah, Mel?
A piece of Quaker wisdom talks about
Say it again a little.
a piece of Quaker wisdom talks about when dealing with conflict amongst brothers and sisters and things and people that we are feeling like they have nothing in common with, that it's important to recognize, from a Christian perspective, it says that we're all created in the image of God, and if we're all unique, then we are a unique image of God, and so the goal of community and engaging with each other is actually to find and learn a new piece of who God is and who the Creator is.
Okay, so I heard everything perfectly right to that last line, and then I couldn't hear again.
The goal of being part of community and engaging with people who are different from us is that they show us a different aspect of God that we may not have seen before, because they
Wow.
are a unique image.
Oh, it's so
and so
beautiful.
Our job is, rather than looking at all the differences, is to look at those differences to find out where the image of God is that we've never seen before.
I love this. I've made a few comments over the last few months about a Sikh activist named Valerie Kaur, K-A-U-R, whom I love, and just from some talks I've heard. And she's mentored by or working with Parker Palmer. And Parker Palmer is a Quaker, and he says, actually in an interview together, they say, it's actually a trait in humans, probably an evolutionary development, that we have an immediate fear of the other. Somebody that's perceived as the other, someone who's in a different group. And she and he said, it doesn't really help to pretend that isn't there. Instead what helps is to turn it around and to learn how to face everyone who's different with wonder. I just love this thought. So instead of being, instead of just trying to pretend that I'm really a just person and love everyone and I have not a single racist idea in my head ever in my whole life, instead it's to say it is tough being human. And some of our evolutionary development has left us in a place where we're a little bit protective, and the other can be a fearful thing for us. And then our job as humans, if we want to follow Jesus in particular, and we want to learn how to love our enemies, is to learn how to turn it around and to treat everyone with wonder. And I've always got a chance to learn. Yeah.
You mentioned the truckers, and it's an interesting kind of practice to go, okay, who are some of the people, maybe some of the people that are doing the hardest things that maybe I disagree with the most in the convoy right now? How are they bearing the image of Creator? And is it that they're bearing the image of sorrow and outcry for the relationships lost, or the inability to see grandkids, or things like that? That maybe that's the image of God. They're showing us a God that is deeply mourning what we are experiencing as a world. Maybe.
I just think you're killing it, Mel. You're killing it. It's just perfect wisdom, I think. Thank you. Yeah, Paul.
When I find somebody that I might think is an enemy, or they've done ill will and harm to me, my immediate response is to judge and want to hurt that person. But when I do that, when I'm wishing ill will and wanting to hurt a person, I'm actually hurting myself. And the recognition of the self-righteousness in me, realize that I love these people, and I see them as people, I'm not inheriting where my love is going to go, but I am to love my enemy because they are my fellow human beings.
Way to go, Paul. I mean, being very honest, I think we all probably have this natural impulse sometimes that we want to hurt somebody, or else, if we don't want that, we at least hope something bad happens to them. Like, I might not want to do the hurting myself, but gee, it'd be nice if an air conditioner fell from heaven. To quote The Good Place. But
Left some sticky fish in the doorstep.
left some stinky fish in the doorstep. I mean, honestly, you do feel these things sometimes. You feel until you start to see, what is that? And that's not, it's not what we're called to do. So somehow we have to honestly face and then learn to transform. Yeah.
Just to kind of add on to what Renato was saying, I think when we say enter into the whole thing of forgiveness and trying to deal with an ill or a wrong that's been done to us, when we allow ourselves to be involved in forgiveness, it's a release, not just for us, and the weight is lifted and bitterness is dealt with, but it actually gives an opportunity, if they accept it and are willing to be involved, for the other person to grow and to actually create freedom for the other person. And if you don't risk it, if you don't allow yourself to do that, you're not giving them that opportunity.
So what you've got is an adventure that could lead into deeper life. And if it's taken, if you take this path of leading to facing and forgiving, there is the chance that there's real growth for everybody involved. Even if you don't, if you can manage to get to that place, it's very possible that your own load will be lighter.
And it comes right into two of his songs. When I look in the eyes of my enemy, I
my brother, and that love does come in and come around, and so it needs to be reestablished.
I was thinking, what will ever heal our country? And then you started to sing, love comes back, love comes back. And I thought, and I also thought about every time we go through something that changes our life in some way, we feel so rocked, but love comes back, love comes back. I love that reminder that love comes back, love comes around. I got 3 other scriptures. I don't know. Just let me just see if there's one of them that I want to go to. Yeah, could you go to Colossians chapter 3, verse 5 and following?
3?
Yeah, chapter 3. I'll just read one more passage today. And if there's a few comments from that would be great too. But you guys, thank you so much. I feel I meant to do something completely different today. Like the last time I spoke, it was on my lecture about the value of tradition, and I wanted to go further in that. But when I just found myself noticing that people I loved were on completely different sides of the convoy issue, saying things very strongly. And I just thought, I don't know what to do, but somehow we have to talk about this. And then I listened, by the way, I listen to, every once in a while, especially when I'm doing something for my back, I listen to the daily podcast. And this week, the daily podcast had from the New York Times, so you can get it on Spotify if you want to, or the daily podcast. There was a very interesting half an hour on the convoy situation. A Canadian reporter from Toronto goes to Ottawa and stays and talks to all kinds of people. And I thought she did such a great job in sort of setting the scene and then unmasking the various strands that I thought there's almost nobody could listen to this without finding something to agree with. Even no matter where you were coming from, almost no one could. I don't think you could listen to the whole thing without finding something to agree with. And because this is a person that seems pretty wise in their appraisal to me. I found a lot that I agreed with, but I thought, even if somebody disagreed with me completely, I think they would find some honor for their perspective. So I thought that was an interesting one. If you get a chance to listen to that, if you're interested, it might be helpful. But could we go to verse 5? We're there. So this is St. Paul writing to the city of Colossae, which, by the way, is just about my favorite place to visit in Turkey. It's never been dug up. So you can just go to the mound and realize that there's a city of over 200,000 people under all of this earth where sheep are grazing. And no one has ever done an archaeological dig there yet. And I just think, I can't wait to find out if there's a library, Anyway, St. Paul writes, "Put to death, therefore, whatever in you is earthly." So the stuff that drags us down into painful life: fornication, impurity, passion, evil desire, greed. So he writes. So I think what he's trying to say is the stuff that really drags us down, push that away. And then he says, on account of these, it gets sort of judgy. Then it says, these are the ways you also once followed when you were living that life, but now get rid of all such things: anger, wrath, malice, slander, abusive language from your mouth. Don't lie to one another, seeing that you've stripped off the old self with its practices, and you've clothed yourself with the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge according to the image of its creator. I love that idea, being renewed in knowledge according to the idea of its creator. And in that renewal, there's no longer an ethnic difference of any sort, an economic difference, absolutely not, and in line with Galatians 3, nor a gender difference. But Christ is all and in all. And then can we go to the next part, please? This is where I really want to go. As God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. bear with one another, and if anybody has a complaint against another, forgive each other, just as the Lord forgives us. And that's how we must too forgive. Above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which you were called in the one body, and be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. Teach and admonish one another in all wisdom, and with gratitude in your hearts, sing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs to God. And whatever you do, in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to the Father through him. I love this idea of putting on. It's almost like underclothes and outer clothes. And over top of everything is meant to be love. There has to be humility in here somewhere. One of the great things that helps us in polarized life is to admit sometimes we're wrong. And if you can model that, if you can model humility, it's very often met with humility from the other side. If you insist only my way is the truth, my way or the highway, usually that's what you get back. Yeah.
What I like actually the most, I think, is the language of getting rid of anger and malice. It doesn't, I think it's offering us the opportunity to let our anger out when it's there. Let our dark thoughts out, because they often happen. Instead of swallowing them and pretending they're not there. It is important that we let there be some space for that first before we really feel like we have to cover ourselves in new, good things. It's important that, if you are angry, it's okay to be angry. Give yourself some space and get rid of it, and then, think about, re-wrapping yourself in new, clean clothes.
I love it. Thank you so much. I think you're right. Yeah. It's not like it would be wrong to pretend these feelings didn't exist and then to just try to cover them over with a Band-Aid of nice feelings or nice thoughts. How artificial. But what a wonderful thing to be able to learn how to process, deal with honestly what's there, and then do our best to get rid of the worst thoughts in whatever way is appropriate, and to put on something that's more royal. I don't know if royal is a good word, but something richer, better. Yeah. Yep, Shannon.
I think about verse 14, clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. I don't know if anybody else has felt this week, but and I think it's something that has been pervading a lot of what's going on is fear.
Mm.
And so with verse 14 about clothe yourself with love, I also think of the scripture that says perfect love casts out fear. And that I found myself this week praying for more of that as opposed to sort of like focusing on the fear and the fear of the other. And then sometimes it's even the fear of, okay, what's inside of me that is also contributing, to having an enemy or looking at an enemy as an other rather than a brother.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. So in other words, there's more going on than we think. Sometimes our charged emotions are really connected to our fear. Sometimes our anger is connected to our fear. Sometimes our striking out is related to things that have happened to us in the past. So I hope that we can have a big heart towards people that disagree with us. I hope that we can love them so much that they know that we care for them and respect them and want to understand the image of God in them. I loved what Mel said about the uniqueness of the image of God in each person. We all share it and we're all different. I love the sense of wonder, trying to learn from everyone. Some people that are really important in my life, including some family members, have completely different attitudes about everything that's gone on. I love them to death, but it's so interesting to talk and realize that we see everything from a different aspect. So I think remembering that we're one, showing humility and a real desire to learn from the perspective of the other, forgiving when there is hurt. I think all of these things allow us the chance to actually have the great adventure of doing life together.
Can I throw one more resource in there? I think that I always come when we have discussions like this come on, I come back to that Megan Phelps-Roper TED talk about the one that left Westboro Baptist Church and the whole story of how that happened. And,
Could you come up here and just explain us here? I just feel like this may be really important for us to hear clearly.
Yeah, well, just a resource. So again, her name is Megan Phelps-Roper, and she was kind of on the wrong side of things, if you will. And it's the whole sort of story of her experience of she was involved in Westboro Baptist Church, right? And so let me give you a vignette of one particular thing that I think is just hilarious. At one point, she started engaging, on Twitter with people. So she was one of their sort of social media folks. And let me find this. Oh yeah. So, she says sometimes the conversation even bled into real life. People inspired with on Twitter would come out to the picket line to see me when I protested in their city. A man named David was one such person. He ran a blog called Julicious. And after several months of heated but friendly arguments online, he came up to see me at a picket in New Orleans. He brought me a Middle Eastern dessert from Jerusalem, where he lives, and I brought him kosher chocolate and held a God Hates Jews sign. And they're quite the whole organization notorious for a lot of this kind of thing, but she basically comes up with these 4 points in the end, like of her experience with this, and she eventually leaves and realizes, that with her engagement with these people that online, I like this one line. She says, "My friends on Twitter didn't abandon their beliefs or their principles, only their scorn." And so she comes up with these 4 things that I think are helpful. It's also, the whole talk is worthwhile. But number 1, the first thing was, don't assume bad intent. The second one is ask questions. That's how we find out what the image of God in somebody else that we don't have, right? You have to ask questions. The third is stay calm.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. 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 She says, dialing up the volume and the snark is natural in stressful situations, but it tends to bring the conversation to an unsatisfactory, explosive end.
Dialing up the snark.
Dialing up the snark. Yeah. So, and finally, what's interesting is her final point is make the argument. And she said, this might seem obvious, but one side effect of having strong beliefs is that we sometimes assume that the value of our position is or should be obvious and self-evident. That we shouldn't have to defend our positions because they're so clearly right and good. And that if somebody doesn't get it, it's their problem. So yeah, so anyway, the thing that
I just feel seen.
So the 4 things, don't assume bad intent, like right out of the gate, like don't assume that somebody is doing this because they're just a terrible, awful person and they wish you ill will. Ask questions to find out where they're coming from. Stay calm and make your own. Once that's all done, you can make your own case about why you think the way you think, and hopefully you're going to have a nice, civilized, and pleasant discussion about the whole thing. Anyway, watch the whole TED Talk. It's worth it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, Jess.
I just, at one point in this conversation, we were talking about anger, and what I felt for myself was, yeah, but I get angry because I'm protecting the thing that I love. So that might be like the teachings of Jesus that I think are being misinterpreted or something. There's something that's making me angry, and so I think the anger isn't always wrong or misplaced. But then, thanks to Mel, I thought about the good people in Ottawa who, and I thought to ask the question, what is it that they love that's creating the anger, that's creating the protest? And yeah, and maybe that's the way to find the reflection of God in I don't know how to bring that, make more of a point of that, but just that the anger can lead us toward what we actually love, and maybe the fear comes because what we love is being threatened.
So the anger and the fear actually have to do with the image of God in us that we love so much. So it may be that maybe we're managing things wisely, maybe we aren't. But it's probably a real and authentic cry from the heart in some way. Okay, well, I want to quit. It's time for lunch. But I just feel it was an honor to be here today with each of you, and thank you for these ideas. And I feel like I don't know if I'll be a better person, but maybe someday. Yeah, I hope we can all be better people. I wondered if we could close by, Jacob, you used to love that doxology, and now that we can sing, could we just sing it together? Yeah. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above, ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Wow. That line had perfect harmony, which we had till right near the end when I broke it. But it was really lovely. Whew. So I guess that's what we want to do, is we want to go for harmony. Goodbye.